Let's talk about learning how to think with your logical mind versus your emotional mind. Before we get into it, we have to observe that our society encourages us to think with a more emotional mind because that often leads to people spending more money. So you can look at social media or you can look at marketing and commercials, and it's pretty obvious that individuals are encouraged to take action based off of how they feel versus what intellectually makes sense. So if you're watching this and you realize that you're emotional, I don't want you to feel any shame because you're conditioned to be that way. But we're going to talk about how to think a little bit more logically and in ways that serve us versus being so reactive based off of our emotions. In order to incorporate logical thinking, you have to understand that logical thinking comes from your medial prefrontal cortex, which is the front of your brain. And this part of our mind helps us solve puzzles and notice patterns. In order to shift into thinking more logically, that comes with observing reality and observing the concrete evidence that you have to support your thoughts. You know you're thinking emotionally when you are having thoughts that aren't necessarily grounded in concrete proof, but are more so grounded in memory. What does that mean? So the amygdala, it stores our emotions and it stores our memories. So when we observe a situation that can be potentially harmful, the brain says, what memories do I have that can help me understand whether this situation is harmful? And then we compare what we're experiencing to a memory to decide if we are safe or not. This is a defense mechanism that a lot of us use when we are triggered. The reason why it is so important to start learning how to think more logically versus consistently thinking emotionally is because when we are triggered, if we have a strong muscle that encourages us to think logically, that gives us autonomy when we are triggered. It gives us the ability to say, I am triggered, I am being emotionally reactive, but do I necessarily believe the thoughts that are beginning to come up in my mind? When we have the ability to do this and recognize being triggered, we're able to speak to ourselves and we're able to say, okay, I understand that I'm being reactive, but is there a chance that I'm not in as much danger as I perceive? This gives us the ability to turn down the danger notch, regulate our nervous system. And when we learn how to regulate our nervous system, we are keeping ourselves and our mind and our body safe from a plethora of chronic conditions that come from a consistently unregulated nervous system. So, learning to think more logically serves us in so many different ways. If you want more content on this, let me know. I'd be happy to make it.